G'day. It's Stefan Angelini on the 1st of March, 2023. Today, we're talking all about superannuation, given that Jim Chalmers has just proposed a cap on superannuation at $3 million. So I'm going to go through exactly what that means and how it might affect different kinds of people. As well as this, I'm going to talk about superannuation contributions, and I'm going to talk about the tax-free super cap, how it currently stands and how it might be changing, so that if you're out there looking to use your superannuation at some point, how you can get money in, and also why it's going to be so beneficial to each and every one of you. For everyone out there in socials land, if you want to watch the full episode of this, head on over to the podcast or YouTube channel. Just letting you know that everything you hear here is general information only. Please don't consider it as personal advice. And if you want personal advice, please go and consult a licensed financial planner. And hey, guess what? We are financial planners at Angel Advisory, so reach out to hello@angeladvisory.com.au if you've got any questions. So super, I love super because it's tax effective. So Jim Chalmers has come out yesterday and said, I'm proposing that we put a cap on $3 million at the concessional superannuation rate. So what does that mean? So he's saying that, so at the moment, if you're in superannuation, you pay a concessional tax rate of 15%. What he's saying is that if you've got more than $3 million, any money that you've got more than $3 million should be taxed at a rate of 30%. Now, this goes different to, I guess, proposals or words they were saying earlier where they were going to enforce people to pull money out of super. Now, if they said to people, if you've got more than $3 million in super, you need to pull it out, that would cause dramatic effects on the economy because it would force people to sell assets because they're changing the entity. It would have stamp duty implications. There's a whole lot of superannuation rules as well. So they've said, no, you can keep your money in superannuation. It will be taxed at 30% rather than 15%. The most concessional rate you can have in superannuation is a 0% tax rate. So let me just walk you through quickly how to get that. So if you're either 60 and you've seized the job, or you are retired, or you are older than 65 years old, you can make some of your superannuation tax-free. So it's called an account-based pension. You can have tax-free earnings and tax-free capital gains. And also you can draw money out of there as much as you want. Now, at the moment, the limit you can have in that tax-free portion is $1.7 million. We are expecting it will increase at the end of this financial year and the start of next financial year to be up to between $1.8 million and $1.9 million. So if you look at the cap and how that applies, let's say you're 65 and you've got $5 million in super. You can have 1.8, or the transfer balance cap currently 1.7 mil being tax-free earnings. The next $1.3 million would be taxed at 15%. And then anything above that, so called, if you've got $5 million, the next $2 million would be taxed at 30%. So this is where you need to get actuaries involved to determine the actual tax. There's things that we use called segregations of assets in superannuation. That'll be scrapped. So you'd have to have everything segregated. You can't have it unsegregated. So it just gets rid of a few strategies, but there are a few people that are impacted. In fact, the proportion of the population that are impacted are 0.5% of the population. So there's not many people, but if you consider where we're at, and if you're growing your superannuation, it's pretty easy to get to a balance of $3 million. You've just got to be contributing each year and then whack in some extra contributions later on, and you'll get to a cap of $3 million. So it will have to increase because inflation grows, inflation goes up, we put more money into super. Importantly, this is proposed not to start until 1st of July, 2025, and it hasn't been legislated. So it's not a proper policy. It's just a proposal. Now, the proposal, how much money will it raise? It will only raise about $2 billion. Now, that barely even touches the sides for where the deficit is or for how much money Labor will be spending in this budget. So it's a really important space to watch, especially as the Libs get in and start to combat it a little bit. You can imagine there'd be a few tweaks. But at the moment, the way it stands, he's saying that we need a $3 million cap on that concessional environment. It will raise some extra money from in taxes, but not a whole heap. Let me just explain to you while we're on the topic of superannuation, how you get money in, how much you can put in. And I've already explained the tax-free cap of that 1.7, which might go to 1.8, $1.9 million. But how do you get money into superannuation? You can make a concessional contribution. That means you get a tax deduction for it, and you can do up to $27,500 per year. You can also go back to the year 2018-19 and use anything you haven't used up, provided your balance is less than $500,000. Next year, what might happen with the super caps? You'll hear an announcement later this financial year that the contribution caps might increase. So you've got the deductible contributions, $27,500. They're called a concessional. You've also got a non-concessional. A non-concessional is 4 times the amount of the concessional. So it's $110,000 per year, or you can use something called a bring forward rule, and you can put in up to $330,000 in 1 year. Most likely, we expect that $27,500, because of the rate of inflation, will increase quite substantially. And let's say it just goes to $30,000. Most likely it'll go higher. If you multiply that by 4, then you can obviously put in $120,000 as a non-concessional. So it's an important space to watch. And if you're making contributions now, maybe just hold off a little bit just to see what happens with these contribution caps. Because if you want to use this bring forward rule at the moment, you can put in $330,000 over the next 3 years. But if you wait to see what gets announced and what will be the new legislated contribution caps, you may be able to put in more and bring forward a higher portion. So superannuation is a great environment. It's tax efficient. If you think about the highest marginal tax rate you'll pay in your personal name, 47%. But I could imagine if the government brings in this new cap of 30% for balances above $3 million, it'd be a fair bit of money. People wanting to pull money out of superannuation because you can have more concessional rates in your personal name. So that's it from me. Superannuation is a great environment. We deal a heap with it. If you have any questions about the new change, how it might affect you, or just what you're doing with your superannuation in general, please reach out to hello@angeladvisory.com.au and we can get one of our advisors to help you out. Thanks a lot. We hope we made super interesting for you. You go off and have a great day. And tomorrow we'll get back into some more economic news. Thanks a lot. Bye.